Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. My name is Hailey Rowe, and I'm a sales and marketing coach and LinkedIn lead generation service provider. I work with health, life, and mindset coaches and online service-based business owners to help them get more sales, shift their time to the client-generating activities instead of just the busy work, and overcome that social media overwhelm. Let's get into the show. If you're ready to take on your next paying clients, I have good news. My free 4 Basics of Client Attraction and How to Stand Out class is live at haileyrowe.com/client-attraction. In the class, you're going to learn the top 2 traits I recommend for most coaches and entrepreneurs if they really want to turn this into a career. You're going to learn how you can build demand for your services and stop getting crickets on your posts. You're going to learn the sales roadmap I used to improve my sales conversion rate and help my clients do the same. And you're going to learn so much more. So go to haileyrowe.com/client-attraction and get your copy of the class today.
Last name Gascon, and she knows a lot about helping your clients through functional labs. She has her own certification program. So I'm going to let her share a little bit more about what she does, how she got into that, and then we're going to dive into how you can use functional labs with your coaching clients, how you can improve client results by looking at functional labs, all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I got into this through my own journey. I was diagnosed with lupus way back in 2009, and that's what set me on this natural healing journey because I did not want to go the medication route. And at the time, I knew nothing. I was still eating everything out of boxes. I ate a lot of cereal, and processed foods were life. So it really was a long process. And through healing myself, I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And one of those was trying to take all these different supplements, guessing on symptoms. And that led me to developing interstitial cystitis, which is a painful, very painful bladder condition where it feels like you have a bladder infection all the time. Now, I was able to heal from that by getting into functional labs. I had so much information, so many theories, and I needed to run the labs. And that's where I went to get certified myself so that I would be able to feel better because I was in nonstop pain all day, all night. And I was able to heal from that. And I went on to start my own coaching business, Motivated to Heal at that time. And about 4 years in, I wrote my book, Heal Yourself, which really outlined the program that I had created, which is very whole body approach. It's about not just getting stuck in one area, like focusing on adrenals or focusing on hormones, and it encompasses the entire body. And so I wrote my book then, and 2 years later, that's when I founded the Integrative Healing Academy, where I train people to do what I do, to learn how to read the labs, to learn how to design these custom protocols for their clients and walk them through this program. So as we stand right now, we're sitting at close to 150 students and almost 30 graduates. So we are very much a smaller program compared to a lot of the different health coaching programs. And that's because our students and our grads, they're not numbers. Each one means a lot to me. And I make sure that each student, each graduate is very well supported. And we stay smaller because of that, just so that the support that everybody is receiving is going to be what they need to really succeed, not only to heal themselves, but to go on when they start working with clients, that they're receiving that one-on-one support.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people who end up in functional wellness have their own health issues that they solve and figure out it's so much more than what we have learned in the past about health. So I'm curious, what are some examples of maybe why lab testing can be useful for wellness coaches or health coaches if maybe they're a health coach and they got a holistic certification of some kind, but it didn't incorporate labs? Like, what kind of things should they be considering, and where do these lab tests kind of come into play?
Yeah, so, if you're guessing based on symptoms, you can guess incredibly wrong. So for me, on my journey, I thought my estrogen was high, so I started to lower it. And by doing so, I lowered it too much. My estrogen wasn't high. And that, along with some of these things that I was trying actually to really clear my skin, and I have a really bad sunburn right now. We were out 8 hours in the Florida sun yesterday. But I used to have cystic acne, and I was trying to heal from that. And the things that I was doing was causing more issues. But it goes to something as simple as giving somebody a B vitamin. So for me, I am genetically something called COMT++. So that means I'm prone to very high levels of dopamine. And if you were to give me a B complex with active B vitamins, so say methylfolate or methyl B12, I would become manic. And that is not a good thing for you to have clients say that come in with anxiety, and you're like, hey, we need to get your B vitamins up. I'm going to give you this supplement. And then you're making them worse. So that's, very, very simple, but it goes to anything. I had a client come to me. She was presenting with severe gut issues, and she had seen 12 different naturopaths and functional doctors. And I'm like, you know what, let's focus on the body as a whole. We're not just going to focus on your gut. Let's run through the program. And we start by rebuilding and rebalancing the body and repairing detox pathways. And so we started working through the program. We did our foundation labs, which I'll cover in a little bit. And then we went on to address her hormones and her adrenals. And everybody had been focusing on her gut. Well, we saw that her hormones were very low. We gave her support for her hormones, and her gut symptoms went away. Just like that. And so you don't know what the symptom is caused by. Likely it's not caused by one thing. Likely there's many things going on. But if we stop focusing on symptoms and instead say, hey, let's run these labs. Let's see what the body needs and give the body tools to heal and let the body heal, versus let's try to turn off a symptom with a supplement, right? So it's a very, very different approach. And without the labs, we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. And I think one of the other things that I'm curious about is, I'm sure when you work with practitioners and they're going out in the world and starting their business, something they face is people saying, well, do you take insurance? These tests don't take insurance. So how do you coach your practitioners to help their clients understand that this is, something that's still worthwhile, even if you can't get it passed by insurance? What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, so most people, once they've gone the natural route, they realize insurance is not going to cover anything. So you're normally not running into that problem. It doesn't matter whether they go see you as a health coach or they go to a doctor. The likelihood of the insurance companies covering the functional lab is slim to none, because it is a different model. It is a sick care model. We're trying to be in an optimal health model. And so the insurance companies, you cannot justify running these labs if you don't first have a disease diagnosis. And most of the people, they're not to the place where the diagnosis is there. They're somewhere in between, right? We've got optimal health here. We've got disease here. They're in this, I feel like crap area, but there's no disease. And so it's not going to get covered by insurance. And besides basic blood work, that's all you're going to get. So people, most of the time when they're coming to me, they're more than happy to run the labs. They're just grateful that they've got somebody who will listen and will actually order the labs, because they're tired of going to these practitioners who are just guessing based on the symptoms. They want the labs. They want to know what's going on with their body.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what's so interesting about that, because I've been a patient or client of functional people, holistic people, because I had the same issues. I'm like, I feel like no one's helping me. I'm not getting any clear guidance. And, or like example, I had this like kind of like chronic dry cough type thing. I told my doctor, they're like, oh, well, you might just have like COPD or asthma. We don't know, but we'll just give you an inhaler. I was like, what?
You're like, I'm not 70 years old. Why the heck?
Yeah, like, that's kind of a big thing to drop in like 2 seconds and then give me an. So anyways, I sought out help, and it's so nice to have someone explain things to you, go through your labs with you, give you protocol. And now I'm like a full believer and endorser of it. But I think that it did require a bit of a mindset shift, or the pain point of feeling unheard for me to discover this path. So what are some tips or ideas you have maybe for health professionals who want to get the word out about this method and modality and promote it? But speaking to kind of the general public, like how do they educate, or like any tips for helping people out in the world see that this is a great path to go down?
Yeah, well, it's just really getting out there and being authentic, sharing your story, and providing a lot of really good information at no cost. I've really found with my business, the less promotion I do, the more clients I get, because the more you can help people. Most people don't want to do it themselves. They don't want to sit there researching forever. They're, tired of their symptoms consuming their lives, and their thoughts and their research about their symptoms consuming their lives. So if you're out there and you're talking about the importance of the labs, how the labs work, sharing the science behind it, sharing your journey, sharing your clients' journeys, and just getting it out there and connecting with people, that's the best thing that you can do. I found too in the health coaching world that we need to watch sales resistance, because if people think that you're just selling to them and all you care about money, they're just going to run the other way. There's so many scams out there. There's so many people doing things that are not helpful. And so the more authentic and real and you can be, and just really trying to be of service, then you're going to get those people who are like, hey, I want to work with this person. They know what they're talking about. I can really connect to them. They seem very real and down to earth, and I want to work with them because I don't want to do this by myself anymore. And so the more you can just get in that space of doing it to be of service, the more people are going to gravitate to you.
Nice. I love that. Yeah. And one thing, I have a very successful client, and one thing that she does is she'll show like a lab test and explain some of it, rather than just always telling tips like on social media, like
Exactly.
showing her in the act of actually coaching someone or things like that. And that can be really useful. So think about how can you add so much value? How can you show the benefits rather than just saying the benefits? And also one thing I'm curious about is when people do get this certification and they start using labs, are there any like mistakes they should watch out for when being a newer person reading labs, or like things to help them start and build this experience?
Yeah, so when I graduated a long time ago, we're looking at like 8 years ago from the program that I took, I was just by myself, and there was no system to follow. There really was no support. There was no guidance in general, and I was really going based off symptoms at that time. And it looks like your adrenals. Let's run a Dutch, or you've got migraines. Let's work on your neurotransmitters. And over the years, I developed my system that I follow, which is the Heal Yourself program. But I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I remember when I first started doing genetics, I was following Dr. Amy Yasko's work, and she always suggests that you address these certain mutations first if they're there. And so it's like, oh, those mutations are there. Let's put a protocol on it. And it was definitely an eye-opening experience, realizing that not all those mutations are active. And if you just start giving these protocols, you can cause more harm than good. So what I've now done with my program is very different, in that when my students graduate and become practitioners, they're actually able to send me their client files before they send it to their client, so that I can look over it and I can catch things. Like, for example, I was just doing one of my grads protocols. So they send me all of the foundation labs, which is an organic acids test, blood work, and genetics. And they sent me the protocol, and it was all very correct, except she missed in the health history that this person had bladder issues. And so anytime there's any semblance of interstitial cystitis or cystitis-like symptoms, there is a very specific protocol for that. And she missed it, but I caught it. And so then she can go back. I give a full Loom video for my grads that goes over all of their clients' files. And then they are now not only prepared to send their client the right protocol, they're also getting coached in the Loom video on how to coach their client on the coaching call. So I do that for all my grads. Some grads use it more than others, depending on where their confidence level is. But what I put in the course for my students is not something that you can memorize. You do have to keep going back to the course. You do have to refer to it, and then you have to practice and practice and practice. When I learned genetics, I had already been a practitioner for a few years, and I incorporated it, and it was 50 clients before I felt that I had some semblance of knowing what I was doing. And then I made a lot of mistakes to really put the program together. So really, when you're doing functional labs and getting started, it's really beneficial to have a program that is going to help you. Otherwise, you just have to get comfortable making mistakes. And mistakes are okay. There is not one practitioner out there, including myself, that does not make mistakes. We all make mistakes, but the great thing is we're giving people supplements. We're not going to, medically harm them like if they were given the wrong medication, right? And we see that over and over again today. People are getting injured by pharmaceuticals. We're not going to do that with supplements. And in our program, I really teach something called sequencing and titration. And that's teaching your clients to start at a low dose. And instead of, you give them a protocol and they add in all the supplements in one day, we want them to not only titrate up, go from low to high, we want them to do one at a time. And we're teaching our clients to get to know their body, go incredibly slowly. And then all of my clients have unlimited tech support, so they can message me anytime. And I give very quick feedback so I can make the course corrections, because if I give them a supplement and they're reacting, I need to be able to help them right away. And that makes a big difference. So besides getting the right support, really important to teach your clients to go slow and to be offering that tech support to your clients so they can message you. You can make those course corrections very quickly.
Nice. Okay. And when it comes to lab tests, is there usually like an order that you're supposed to go in, or a couple of core lab tests that pretty much everyone uses, or do you just tailor it based on where the person's at? How does that work?
Yeah, so, there's no right or wrong, but the way I've developed over the years is we do things in a certain order. Our whole goal is to work with the body, not against it. So I start with the foundation labs, organic acids, full blood panel, and genetics. That's showing me neurotransmitters, thyroid, detoxification pathways, mitochondria, which is the energy centers. We're seeing nutrient deficiencies, and we're creating this foundation so that the body can start to repair. And then after that, we're going to look at the Dutch test, which is going to show hormones and adrenals. And I don't run that right off the bat, because if somebody is already in survival mode, if their body is just struggling to get by day, whether it's due to anxiety or stress or overload or toxins or pathogens, whatever it is that's taxing the body, we need to get the body out of survival mode. Your body is not focusing on your hormones if you are running from a tiger all day. Reproduction is 0 on the list of importance. And adrenals, of course, are going to be out of balance. So if we wait on those and just start to give the body tools to repair, and in my program, not only are we, addressing these systems, we're also going to be looking at mindset. We're going to be looking at nutrition. So we're moving to a balanced whole food diet. We're fueling the body, we're reducing stress by giving people tools to handle it better. And then we're getting these supplements on board that are really customized to the body. And then when we get to the hormones and the adrenals, oftentimes there's not as much support that we need to do. So if you run the Dutch right away and you're like, hey, your progesterone's low, I'm going to give you some chaste berry, you're basically telling the body to take these resources and make progesterone, when the body is saying, I don't have the resources to make progesterone. So then we're going against what the body is trying to do. The body is trying to repair. It's not trying to reproduce. So we want to kind of honor the body, really honor the body in its healing process. And then after that, I do a lot of phase 3 detox, which is basically moving toxins out of the body in preparation to really go into gut work. And that's addressing pathogens like protozoa and parasites, yeast, bacteria. But I don't do that at the beginning either, because if the body's already weakened and the detox pathways are not working properly, if all of a sudden you're like, let's kill pathogens, let's force detox, you are now becoming a stress on your body. So we see so often that people are trying to heal and they're causing more stress. And if we look at the body as a bank account versus just seeing it as not like this immensely wise being that's trying to repair, right? So it wants to repair. So if we see the body as a bank account, and that in order to get to optimal health, we need to stop the withdrawals and we need to make the deposits, everything changes. So you have to look at what you're doing. Is this a withdrawal or is this a deposit? And killing pathogens, forcing detox when the body is weakened is a withdrawal. We're not going to get the body where it needs to be. So there's different markers, there's different checkpoints before I will have a client go to gut work. And a lot of people, they're very much fixated that their gut is the root cause of everything. And from my experience, since I've been doing this as a practitioner, is that it's not the cause of everything. It is a result, for sure, of all the stress that the body's under. But the majority of people, when they go through my program, they're going to have most of their symptoms clear up before they ever touch their gut. And so many people don't even want to do gut work because they're already feeling better. And often when you clear up somebody's main health concern, they're going to go out and start living their life. So, the gut, we want to really wait until the body is ready to handle all that die-off and the stress that the antimicrobials are going to cause. Because whether it's natural or pharmaceutical, when you kill stuff, when you put these herbs on board, it is going to stress the body out more.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Speaking of some of these things that you've realized, or like maybe misconceptions that you've realized aren't always the case, is there anything really surprising you've learned in your years of being a practitioner about one of the tests, or like something that everybody is missing, or just something that you found really, really interesting when it comes to these functional labs?
Yeah, so the most interesting thing, and what people are really missing, is the importance of balancing your brain. A lot of practitioners are not even touching the brain or neurotransmitters. And if you want to feel good, if you want to function at optimal health, your brain needs to be balanced. And we have different neurotransmitters, serotonin, which is very like the happy neurotransmitter. It's calming, it moves you out of fight or flight. We have dopamine, which gives you that drive and motivation, very important when you're trying to run a business and coach clients and tackle all the things that we do in a business. You need to have good dopamine levels to stay focused. GABA is very relaxing. So there's all these neurotransmitters that need to be in balance. And one thing along the way, for a great many years, everybody thought that everybody needed more serotonin. And it's not the case. There are some people who genetically cannot break down serotonin. They're actually prone to too much serotonin. So it's so important to get those labs and find out which one are you, because if you are prone to low serotonin, like myself, I burn through my serotonin very quickly. I'm constantly needing to replenish my stores. And so my body's ability to make the serotonin, I need to keep putting in those materials so my body can make it. But there's other people who don't. And for the longest time, as we thought everybody needed it. And when we look at genetics, it's the same with dopamine. So I do not need more dopamine. Every day I'm lowering my dopamine. It goes too high. I end up going manic. I was actually diagnosed with bipolar when I was 19. One of the things that really started me on this journey. Understanding your brain chemistry and how you can come into balance is really key to optimizing everything in your system. Because if you're stuck in fight or flight every day because you're not getting enough GABA or your dopamine is too high, you're not going to heal until we move into rest, digest, and repair. And that is activating that parasympathetic nervous system. So knowing what your brain needs, what supplements you can take, because so often people are making things worse taking the wrong supplements, and they're just driving that cycle higher. And without the labs, you're not going to know that.
Interesting. Okay. And you have kids, you have this, I think you have kids, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You have a business, you are very hands-on with your practitioners. How do you stay sane and juggle it all? Because a lot of the listeners here are like, yeah, I love this stuff. I could do it all day. But I'm also burning myself out, and I want to be an example for my clients, and I want to be healthy. And how do you stay sane? Any tips?
Well, you need to delegate. You really do. If you, like, for me, my husband is pretty well retired, so he's amazing, and we do this together as a team. So, right now I'm here and he's with my son. He does all the homeschooling, which is only like, we're unschoolers, so it's 30 minutes a day. And we definitely are a team. He helps me. We also live on 5 acres. We are in the process of starting a food forest. We have almost 130 fruit trees and vines and all these things to grow our own food in our gardens. So he is definitely my partner, my teammate. Now, if your husband is working and you don't have that, then you need to delegate a lot of things to other people. Ask for help, whether that's friends, family, or whether that's hiring somebody to get things done. So you need to either take the things that you can do and do those things, and then delegate the rest. So I don't do any tech stuff. I don't do any social media stuff. I don't do any of that. I don't even order my own labs. Like, I have assistants to help me do that so that I can really be focusing on clients, students, grads, and doing things like podcasts and speaking events and that sort of thing. That's where my zone of genius is. And around the house, my husband does a lot of tasks. And as women, we're kind of expected to be like, hey, you need to run your business, you need to take care of the kids, you need to clean the house, you need to do this. And it's like, no, I'm going to hire a house cleaner. I'm going to make sure that my husband knows that these are his tasks. Just because he goes to work all day, he's got to come home and be doing things too, because I'm also working, and this is my bandwidth. This is my plate. So we have a plate. And if you feel like your plate is overflowing, you need to take stuff off your plate and put them on somebody else's. And that's just, determining what you can do, what you want to do, and start saying no to a lot of things you don't want to do. I'm really big on that. It's like, no, I'm not doing this today. I'm not putting my energy there. I'm going to put my energy here instead, and somebody else can go and do this. And really realizing things don't need to be done. They don't need to be done today. Getting in that place of just allowing things to happen. Those are all, key points of how I manage, which most people are like, oh my gosh, you must be so busy. You got all these things. And I don't feel busy. Right now I do, because we're tackling these massive projects outside in the garden. But those will be coming to an end this week. And after that, I don't feel busy. But it's all about managing your time really well and delegating. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. It's not happening.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, it's just as much about taking stuff off your list and saying no and delegating as it is about, adding stuff and prioritizing and trying to do everything. So thank you for sharing that. And this has been really fun. I'm curious, how can people connect with you and find you online?
Yeah, you can go to www.integrativehealingacademy.com if you're interested in getting certified and running these labs. If you're more so just interested in coaching and you want somebody to do it for you, again, that whole delegation. If you're like, I need to be at optimal health for my business, for my kids, for my family and everything that I'm doing, and for myself, then you can also go to my personal coaching website, which is sgintegrativehealing.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. And if it's really helpful for you, I'd really appreciate if you share it and or leave a written podcast review. This tells the podcast sites that our show is useful, and it will be promoted to more people that way. Thanks again.